Hello, today we're gonna continue working with our E90 project, and my task for it is to make quarter panel molds, because in drifting almost everyone cuts the back of the car, so you have to have some sort of fenders. We will have two options. You just can buy fiberglass or carbon fiber, just a quarter panel, or you could buy quarter panel and over fender. So it's less molds for us, because if you're making one whole quarter panel with over fender, so it's a fed mold. I don't think we need that much, because all the options can be made by two molds. In order to make a clean surface molds, I have to remove all the stickers from the 3D scanning, some glue left. I see there is some scratches and marks, so I have to polish it and then begin to making the molds. And until I'm not finishing the molds of the quarter panels, I can't put over fenders to sand them and check the lines, because I have to drill it, so I can't take a mold from a drilled fender. For example, like in the front, I put some screws, some measurements, but this is not big deal, because this is changeable part, so we have already new ones, and this is not a problem for the front. But for the back, you have to go step by step. First of all molds, then trying to correct the 3D printed parts. Also we have to remove trunk lid, bumper, stop light, fuel tank cover, and some small bits around it. I have started disassembling the back of the car. It's definitely not the first time, so it went pretty fast. Well, I have removed unnecessary stuff around the quarters, and I want to show you the seals on the seams, which I forgot to mention. I have to clear everything out. Here's an example. I started to do that because I don't want that final product would look like that, with all the bumps and gaps and everything else. Here we have a deep corners, but I will fill it with the wax to make the surface more flush as possible. So I have to remove it all around here, everywhere. So it will take, I think, a few hours. When surfaces became smooth, I started preparing it for the polishing. I sanded it with 2000 grit paper and started polishing it with FX Protective Heavy Cut Polishing Paste. At this stage I finished sanding and almost finished polishing, so I left some marks that you can see the difference. This is polished surface, this is sanded with 2000 grit paper, wet sanded, and the door I don't touch anything. So here you can see the scratches, how it was before sanding. We had some over here and also here, but now we have smooth solid surface which we can use for molds making. Also I scraped all the sealant gum and also polished it. I think the surface is ready to take a mold. So first of all I'm gonna make some tests to make a mold for the gas tank cap, because I want to check how materials are working, how tough the mold will be. So I don't want to waste material over the car in a huge part. Let's hope everything will be okay and we could move on the huge parts and start finally making the body kit. Here I have made a stand for the gas tank cover. I especially made it to stand vertically in order to understand how materials work in that position, because I didn't know how they stay on the surface, maybe it leaks or something else. While the mold for the gas tank cover was drying, I started preparing quarter panels for mold making. And in that time, gas tank cover mold kept dried, so I demolded it. Everything went great, so I have continued preparation for the big parts. Finally, I finished making the barriers for the molds. All the corners and gaps are waxed. Quarter surface covered with mold release wax. I did it 4 times. Maybe it's enough 3 times, but there is some tight spaces, so I decided to make it easier for me and make it 4 times, just in case. Here we have a gas tank cover, and here we have a front surface mold. Everything went fine. I see some small scratches, but you can't see over here. It means that I had to polish it better, but I can do it just polishing the mold. So there's nothing bad for the final product. And of course I have to make the mold for the back side and then glue them together. So everything fine. We can continue with the huge parts. Well, at this stage I coated 2 layers of gel coat. It writes that you can put just 1, but I laid 2 layers because of the tight corners. I want to be sure that all the gaps are filled. And after that I sprinkled some fiberglass flock. The main purpose of it is to prevent fiberglass go through the gel coat. So it creates strong film and you can cover fiberglass over it. So today I want to cover 2 layers. One fiberglass and the second with peel ply, because I want to harden the flanges. So I don't want to put all the layers in the same time, because when I roll it, it can crack somewhere. First of all, just 2 layers and leave it overnight and continue work just tomorrow. Life of the gas tank cover mold, every process was the same with the quarter panels, except that I wanted to let gel coat in the first layer of 30 grams cloth to dry, because flanges was a little bit wobbly, so I just wanted to be sure that it hardens before putting other layers. But if you want to leave it to harden, you have to put peel ply. And when it dries, you can simply peel it off, and it leaves great texture for the surfaces which needed to be sure that next fiber layers will stick correctly and properly. Well, the first mold is finished. So for that mold I used 2 layers of gel coat, 1 layer of 50 grams matte, then 163 2 layers, then 450 2 layers, and final coating was 163. I think the toughness is good, but I don't really like one thing. It's not a huge problem, but I see some air bubbles on the last few layers, I think 2 of them, but all the other ones inside went very well. Now we can wait around 20 hours to fully cure, and when we continue with, I think, this part, or maybe we are going to the back. I really don't decide it yet. And continue going around all the car. The hardest part was that everything went in rush, because epoxy hardens in around 40 minutes. You can't spend a lot of time in some places because the other half started curing. You just have to be fast. But I think it's possible. We see that it's possible. So for the other parts, I think I will be faster, because it was just the first mold. I was using paper cups because in some data sheets writes that plastic cups could react with epoxy and can melt or start to heat. So it's safer to use plastic cups. For this mold I used, I think, around 10 or 11 brushes and about 20 cups, because when it started to harden, you see that it became some jelly thing. So you have to throw them, mix another epoxy, and because you don't want to ruin that part for that stupid mistake. And manufacturer said that you can't mix a lot of epoxy. For example, you can mix 800 millimeters of epoxy in one go, because you simply just can't put it as fast as it hardens in the cup. So I mixed around 150 or 200 grams of epoxy with hardener to avoid it became jelly really fast, or just not to waste material. Well, I started preparing the mold for the next part, and I have noticed that I have some drops from the roller, which I was using to roll the epoxy, and now I have a lot of dots of epoxy stuck to the metal. So I try to scrape it a little bit, but there is too much of them. So I have decided just sand it over again, and it is a lot of work now. I don't plan it. So I learned that you have to cover all the second parts when you're making one, because it's just waste of time now. Finally, I finished the molds, this side and other side. Also, I made some wooden supports in order to support the molds, and it prevents from twisting the parts after demolding it. So now I have to drill some holes. I will put some screws. Then I connect every piece together. It holds in places. And after that, remove screws and try to demold it, all the pieces. I hope it will be good, because it's a lot of work to do it again. Oh, scary noises. What we have here, I think pretty nice. Okay, let's put it aside and try the other ones. First one went well. I hope that other parts will be great also, because it's really hard and take a lot of time to make these molds, so I'm a little bit stressed now, but I hope everything went okay. Last touches, and it should go. Oh, yep. What we have, and everything's fine, good, I think. Free to go. Coming. Oop. And what we have here. Oh, nice. I was afraid of that corner because it's really sharp. You have 90-degree, I don't know how to call it, sheet metal, just plate. So I was afraid that gel coat can't reach it, or fiberglass can't reach it, all the corners, but this one is really good. Now I think we have to remove this first, because Here we have a flange that looks down, so automatically it locks a little bit this part. So it would be easier to remove this first. Also very nice. Of course, places like this, everything shiny, because it's the clear coat, and there is no clear coat. We have on gel coat some marks. It's flush, but it reacts something different. But that's not a problem, just interesting fact. And the last one, the biggest one, but it should come pretty easy, I think, because there's no tight corners. Here I have a small locking point, because it wants to take off, but struggles. It's really small, but holds. And I said it will be easiest part. Also the gas tank cover plays strangely holds here. Everything down the gas tank cover is loose, but gas tank plays strangely holding it. I think we have to try to put something between longer. I mean, not this one, but longer, which can separate the gas tank cover from the mold. Because in that one corner it's holding, and I don't want to break all the mold, because this part is not even usable, because you have to cut it out. So if I scratch it, it will be not a big deal. Oh! Whew. Almost shit my pants in that place. But everything also looks great. Here we see some scratches from the measure, but nothing bad. I think like here some plastic somehow glued together to the gel coat, and the same vent here, so I can't remove it. But interesting that other parts came really easily. I mean plastic from the gel coat. So I don't really know why here we have some sticky situation and a lot of wax. So I think we can move on to the other side. Well, I finally finished the molds. All the supports are glued together. The part is stiff enough, because without them it really wants to bend, because it's a large piece. Everything went well except one part. We have a hole, because in that corner I didn't push enough. Between fiberglass and gel coat we have air pocket, so gel coat just shattered out. But so I will have to sand a lot of it and find where it stops and fill it over again. Every other parts, like I said, went well. Before making the part from fiberglass or carbon fiber, I will have to sand such places where I put the wax to smoothen it. But at this stage I will leave it like this, because now I have to rush to make over fenders. So, like I mentioned, these parts have to be done first to continue work with the body kit. When I was making these molds, I was trying to connect them
in the corners, because when you make the part, you can sand the corner a little bit to make a small radius, so it hides the splitting mold connection point. In this place, for example, I can't make it in the corner, so we have to sand it a little bit more, I think. Also, we have one tight corner for both parts. When I will be making the parts, I think maybe I will have to lay the carbon fiber or fiberglass on this part, then put this part on. And when I vacuum it with a vacuum bag, I think it should reach that corner. But this place a little bit harder than I thought it would be. But we will see. To make these 2 quarter panel molds, it took approximately 2 weeks, but I was working like 3 months, because I just made some parts, then go to the other works, then I have free time, I go over again and make a second part. So in the term of time, it took, like I said, about 3 months. So I hope you liked the video, you liked the work we made, and if you have some advices, like I asked before about when I was making intake pipes, so feel free to comment, write some your experiences and what could be made better. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in the next projects.